Okay, lesson 7.3a. We are on page 18. Before we start, here's how I want you to think about today's lesson, because it can be a little tricky. So let's say there's 5 people that go out to dinner. 2 couples and then Steve. So the 2 couples are gonna, they're gonna pay one bill together. This couple's gonna pay one bill together, and Steve's gonna pay his own bill. So let's say the whole thing costs them $100 total. All right. It's not fair for each person to pay $33, $33, $33. That's not fair to Steve to pay as much as the couples. So if this were you, think about what you do. How would you split the bill up? You can pause while you think about it. So hopefully you came to the conclusion that we have basically 5 parts here. This is like our ratio question. We have 5 pieces of pie that have a total up to $100. So each piece of pie is basically 20 bucks. So couple A, those each pay 20, so they're paying a total of 40. Couple B is paying a total of 40, and Steve over here is paying his 20. So that is how you would divide that $100 bill up between 2 couples and Steve. So if you think about it, this is basically each couple is paying 2/5 of dinner. All right, 2/5, 2/5, and Steve's paying 1/5. Okay, so that's how we're going to divide up a whole amount into a given ratio. All right, so next page where we were, here's just a little bit of a warm-up. So forget all that. I'm going to move a little quickly here. I want to get a couple examples in. So this is basically a mile marker on a highway. You guys have driven down a highway going on a trip somewhere, and you see those mile markers on the side of the road. What this tells us is that Arthur Avenue is at mile marker 14, 11, 12, 13, 14 right there. So Arthur Avenue we'll call A. Collingwood Road is at marker 44. So 1, 2, 3, wrong spot. Collingwood Road is at mile marker 44. We'll call that C. What we want to do is put an exit for Briar Street 2/3 of the way. Whoa, my pen is off. Sorry about that. 2/3 of the way from Arthur Avenue to Collingwood Road. So what we're going to do is think about, just like we did for the bill at the dinner between the 2 couples and Steve. To find the 2/3 distance between Arthur Avenue and Collingwood Road, what we need to do is find the whole bill, like the whole distance between them. Like the whole bill at dinner was 100. The distance between these 2 roads, or these 2 exits, is 30 miles. And that kind of relates to the $100 dinner we had. So there's 30 miles between Arthur Avenue and Collingwood Road. Now, just like for the dinner question, we want to split this 30 miles up into a 2/3 distance. 2/3 distance. So Briar will be 2/3 of the way from Arthur. 2/3 of the way from Arthur. Now to do that, just like we did for dinner, we're taking that whole 30-mile distance, we're cutting it into thirds basically, and then doubling it. So we want to cut that $100 dinner into 5 equal parts, and each couple pays double that amount. We're going to cut this 30 miles into 3 equal parts, so we can divide it by 3. That's 10. And then double it. And that's how we get our 2/3. So 30 divided by 3 times 2 is 20 miles. So we know exit B will be 20 miles from exit A. Another kind of shorter way to do that step right here, instead of doing 30 divided by 3 times 2, you just do 30 times 2/3. So 30 times that 2/3. All right, so we know exit B will be 20 miles from exit A. So what mile marker will that be? Well, all we do is add it to our original point. So our original point A was at 14. We add 20 to it. So Briar Street, 33, 1, 2, 3, 34. That's where exit B will go. 2/3 of the way to exit C. So it basically cuts it up into 10, 10, and 10. And exit B gets 2/3 of that distance. All right, so think about those two examples when we get into the more difficult questions. We're going to do it on the two-dimensional coordinate system. All right, so a directed line segment is a segment between 2 points, A and B, with a specified direction from A to B or B to A. And we're going to partition this directed line segment. We're going to divide it up into two segments with a given ratio. So we're going to find the coordinates of point P that divides the line segment into the given ratio. So first of all, let's plot our points. A is at -8, -7, and B is at 8, 5. So we're going to do exactly what we did in that last question. We're basically just going to do it once for the x coordinates and once for the y coordinates. So first of all, here's the trick. 3-to-1 ratio. How many pieces of pie are there? Remember our ratio questions. 3 parts to 1 part. That was like the dinner bill. Each couple pays 2/5. You know, we divided into a 2-to-3 ratio. Maybe I'm confusing you there. But a 3-to-1 ratio means there's 4 pieces of pie total. So a kind of way to think about it is 3 over 3 plus 1. So 3 parts over the total pie, which is 4 parts. So a 3-to-1 ratio means the proportion is 3/4. And that's the key to our whole problem right there. There's our proportion. So 3-to-1 ratio is a 3/4 proportion. All right, now all we do is exactly like we did with the restaurant bill. It's exactly like we did with the mile markers. First thing we have to do is find the distance between the two x coordinates. Now the x coordinates go from -8 to +8. So if we want to think about it this way, -8 to +8, we need to subtract. 8 minus -8 is 16. The distance from the y coordinates, we go from -7 to 5. So we can just subtract. 5 minus -7. So those are basically our mile markers. We're going 16 miles on the x coordinates. We're going 12 miles on the y coordinates. All right, remember, pause if you need to, rewind if you need to. And now what we know is that point P, like we found out above with our ratio, is 3/4 of the distance. So we need to find 3/4 of the distance. Just like we needed to find 2/5 of the restaurant bill, we wanted to find 2/3 of the distance between the exits. So we just want to find 3/4 of our x distance and 3/4 of our y distance. So we know our x distance was 16. We got that from right there. So our x distance, the total mile marker, the total bill is 16. And we just want to find 3/4 of that. All right, 3/4 of 16. So basically we can divide 16 by 4, which is 4, and then multiply it by 3. Or you can do your calculator. That's fine. 3/4 of 16 is 12. Now we just do the same thing for our y coordinates. Remember the distance from mile marker A to B for our y coordinates was 12. So the distance between the y coordinates was 12 units. We want to find 3/4 of that distance. 3/4 of 12 is 9. So we're not done. What those numbers represent is the distance that will cut that line segment into 3/4. So if we look back up here at our picture, we're not going to go to plot the point 12, 9. That would be way up here. But this line segment from A to B, that point P is 12 units from my x coordinate and 9 units from my y coordinate. So the last step, here's what we do to find that exact point. We know the x coordinate. We started at -8. The y coordinate, back to our graph, we started at -7. So now what we do to find that final point P is we just add on the distance we found. So 3/4 of the total distance was 12. So we add 12 to our starting point. Equals 4. Same thing for the y coordinates. The total y distance was 12. 3/4, that 3/4 proportion of 12 is 9. So we add 9 on to our original y coordinate. There's our point, 4, 2. So looking back up top here, let's take a look at it, 4, 2. And I know my line's not perfect, but that looks pretty good, right? 3-to-1 ratio. If we kind of look at dividing this up into 4 equal pieces of pie, from A to P, there's 3 pieces of pie. From P to B, there's 1 piece of pie. There's your 3-to-1 ratio. So point P is 3/4 of the way from A to B. Okay? So there's a lot of steps. Use your notes. Go back and look at what I did. But for homework, I'll get you started right now on example 2. I also want you to do example 3. So you will have a fill-in-the-blank question on Schoology. To answer question 2 and 3, you'll fill in an XY pair for me. Okay? So for number 2, just to get you a little start here, a 1-to-2 ratio. So again, the important thing, that 1-to-2 ratio, and I'll even write step 1 here for you. 1-to-2 ratio means there's 3 pieces of pie total. So 3 pieces of pie, we want to figure out what 1/3 of that pie represents. So there's the key, there's the ratio. Now you're going to find your x distance and your y distance. So the x's from -4 to 2 is 6 units. My y distance, careful now, from 4 down to 1 is -3. That's really important. Okay, so -4 up to 2, we're going up 6 units. From 4 down to 1, we're going down 3. Okay, and now we just do our proportion, our 2-to-1 ratio again. So the total restaurant bill, the total mile marker, whatever you want to think about it, was 6 miles, $6. We want to know what 1/3 of those distances are. 1/3 of 6 is 2. 1/3 of -3 is -1. All right, and I'll let you finish up the rest. Remember, those aren't our final answers. That's the amount we want to tack on to our starting place. All right, so finish this one up. Put your answer in on Schoology. This one is all you. All you. Okay? 2 and 3, if you have questions, come see me. Do your best. Good job. See you in class.